going around and I'm excited, and yay, we're going to do basically a part 2 to a previous video I'd made called Terrifying Ghost Experiences with Friends. I will link the first video down below if you are in the mood for some spooks and you want to see a very long video about all these ghost stories. I ended up telling my own ghost stories along with filming a bunch of friends, people that I knew, co-workers and things like that at the time, of their own ghost experiences. And to be totally honest, it was one of those things that I filmed, and I told people to be like utterly honest with me, and I didn't really expect to have the amount that I did. And a lot of these ghost stories were very real and very spooky and not at all what I was expecting. So I was expecting like some small things like I had. No, their ghost stories were spooky. I even had one of the girls come and make this ghost story. Like, I asked her to tell this ghost story, and I was gonna film it, make a video and everything, make it part of the video. And when I asked her if she was willing to do that, and if she had those ghost stories and she was willing to tell them, she was like, I don't think mine are that scary. Hers ended up being one of the scariest ones. I don't know, I'm confused by the brain process of that. But yeah, fun fact though, after I had filmed that video and recorded it and posted it, like, I think almost directly after I posted this video, this had already been made. Okay, I was done. I ended up having some more ghost experiences, and they were a lot, we're gonna say creepier than what my original stories I told were. Because my original stories were like small little things that I couldn't explain, and even some scary dreams that were coincidences with death that don't make sense. But these were like real life, I heard voices type-ish. And it happened directly after, and I'm still almost mad about the timing of that. But I'm going to tell you about those ones, and then I'm also going to read some other people's ghost stories via BuzzFeed. So, I have some backstory for you in the stories I'm about to tell that are my own stories that are updated ghost stories. I was helping two friends, classmates, film a horror, like a short horror film, and they were doing it for class, but they were also kind of doing it for their own personal enjoyment kind of thing, and it was actually based on a story that my one friend slash classmate actually wrote. They were inspired by two different video games, Silent Hill PT and Outlast 2. And she sort of wrote her own story, like manga, like comic type situation, as if with like a crossover between the two games. And she wrote this own story, and she made her own original character, and the film ended up being about this original character, and we kind of just brought it to life. Now, I will say they did a lot more of the film work than I did. I helped a little bit with the editing. I helped a little bit with like makeup and some like ideas. I put some ideas in there with them, and I was mostly just there to help them out and be there and help film a little bit here and there and stuff like that. I kind of co-directed towards the end, but all the story and prop work and everything was completely and utterly them. In fact, actually, if I can, I'll link the channel down below, on which I think there's still a trailer for this film up there, because my classmate has never stopped re-editing this film, but I have one of the original versions, but I'm not going to post it without the permission, because again, the story is solely from them. Anyways, we ended up going to another high school to film some of these scenes, and it's like directly by what our high school was, but it was a old high school. Like, this school wasn't used as necessarily school anymore. They were half using it for a First Nations band office and half using it for a little sort of like daycare situation. But that's just how it was. And there was also part of the building where a lot of like people, I guess, were building stuff. They were like fixing some stuff in the back. So there's a lot of like there's a lot of other people coming through the building. So it was kind of used for everything, but it was no longer used for high school because the newer high school was built. So my parents actually used to go to this high school, and such, my grandparents used to go to this high school, and on. Like, it was a very old building, and I want to preface that. And thankfully, the band, woman from the band office and everything allowed us to film in this building. So, at one point, one of the shots to film was of the original character in a bathroom. I'm pretty sure the way that we had it, based on my memory, was that the men's bathroom because these were two bathrooms that no one really used at all, which is why we were allowed to use them. And the men's bathroom we used as like, that's where we put all the props and so on and so forth. And we left all our props and stuff in that bathroom because we weren't really going to be filming in there at all. And then in the women's bathroom, that's where we filmed. And we're in the women's bathroom, and my classmate is filming this shot with my other classmate, who's the actress, acting as the director, classmate's original character. And I'm just sort of standing in the background. And I'm just standing there, and the lights are kind of being kind of flickery, but we're not really thinking too much about it because it's an old building, and they're probably rewiring shit and whatever. But then, I don't know why, and I will never be able to explain this, but I suddenly thought of the name Evan. I don't know why. I don't know why it popped into my brain. It just did, and I whispered it out loud. I just whispered out loud, Evan? ? And suddenly, after I said this, the lights flickered, as if on command. And I was like, oh. But I didn't think too much of it because, like, if it didn't happen more than once, then it could have been, like, literally just a coincidence because the lights were already kind of flickery anyway. So as a practice, later I went in with the actress's phone recording, like voice recording, and I went into the women's bathroom and they weren't filming in there, and just started talking and asking questions just to see if there was actually a ghost in there. Now, I didn't get any response on the voice recording, but at one point I said, is your name Evan? And like, the lights were totally fine. Okay, this whole time I'd already been asking questions for at least 2 minutes. And then I asked, is your name Evan? And the lights flickered. On command. I then asked, do you like that we're here? And the lights flickered. I got response to the name Evan in certain questions by the lights, and after I ended the session, the lights were totally fine before I entered the room and before I left. It was just certain questions, the lights just flickered, and I don't know if that's a ghost thing, but I'm going to say it's a ghost thing because it's weird that the lights just flickered on command after certain questions. The spookiest part, though, was I was in the men's bathroom because I thought, what if there's a ghost in the men's bathroom too, the one where we put all the props and everything. So I went into the men's bathroom and I started asking questions, and I didn't get a response on the recording, and I didn't get a response in real life. But yeah, anyways, I was in there and I was getting no responses whatsoever until I asked the question, do you want us to stay? And I heard in my ear, whispered, like literally right here, right behind me, in my ear, no. And I was like, hell nah, bye. Like, And there was no one in that room with me. No one was in that bathroom. There was literally 0 people that went into that bathroom. It was just by myself, and there was no way like I heard something near me because of like, you know, my filming friends that were there. No, they were on the complete other side, okay, of like the building type situation. Like they were filming somewhere else at that time. So there was no way there was someone in the room with me. The other thing was we ended up choosing to film in this room, and it was because basically I remember we went in there during the daytime at one point. One of the employees of the building showed us in there because we were trying to find a desk to use as like a prop because we didn't have one, and we were trying to find this desk, and we walked into this room that the employee brought us in, and I remember immediately getting a very bad feeling. And the room in there was a lot colder than literally anywhere else. And that's saying something considering I used to live up in the north. -30 was cold for us. And it was winter when we were filming this. But the rest of the building was, for the most part, had heating and everything like that. So either the practical reason was this room, you know, just didn't have heating in that particular room, or insulation in that particular room, or there was a ghost. I don't know, but I just remember going in there and immediately not wanting to be in that room. Something about that room really put me off. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to leave, like as fast as we could. Like I hated being in that room. And then we realized that this was one of the few rooms that when we closed, like when we shut off the lights, it was flat out dark. Like pitch black, you could not see dark if we closed, like if we turned off the lights in that room. And because of how creepy this room was, we ended up deciding, yeah, let's film in this room. It's creepy. Now, I think it was kind of a collective decision, but I had 2 other classmates with me. One kind of believed in ghosts, and the other one, it might have believed in it, but they didn't really voice their opinion, but even they didn't like the room. And we all collectively hated this room. We all collectively were creeped out at this room, regardless of what our beliefs are, and yet still decided to film in this room. Why? I don't know. I will never be able to understand that decision. I really won't. But we decided to film in this room. And for a while, me and the other classmate that was basically the director and, you know, wrote everything, decided we were gonna like talk kind of about the filming process. And while we were talking, the actress decided she was gonna try to go into this room by herself, just in this room. And she said she walked into the room, and and she came back out of this room, slammed the door, and looked like she was about to have an anxiety attack, like she was trying to breathe. And I looked at her, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "I don't know." And I was like, "What happened?" She's like, "I was just in the room chilling, was by myself, and then I swear a chair out of the corner of the room moved. I didn't touch it. I was literally nowhere near it. I started to walk that direction, and the chair moved on its own." And I was like, "Are you effing with me right now? Are you just messing with me because you know I don't like this room?" She's like, "No, I swear on my life, the chair moved." And we ended up being very creeped out in this room. The reason I find this room so significant was because she said she's had that experience. I had a very bad feeling about this room. And at one point we were filming, and like I said, there was like other workers in the building, and there's people with safety jackets on. A safety jacket guy was walking past us. We didn't talk about how we felt about this room, okay? And he goes, "Oh, you're in the creepy room." And we went, "Why do you think this room is creepy?" And he said, "Oh, I don't think it was really me, but I think he said it was like one of his buddies or something, but was working here during the night shift one night, and he saw, and there was no one supposed to be here but us, and he saw a little girl run into that room. It was sick, man." And I was like, that's not how I would describe that, but sure, you be excited about that. So a worker told us this room was creepy. My friend says that she had an experience. I hated this room. We all collectively were very creeped out by this room. Now, it's told that unless you like protect yourself, if you're very open-minded and open-souled and whatever, to things like that happening to you, ghosts sometimes decide, nah, we're gonna attach ourselves to you and we're gonna follow you. At this time, I was living not with my parents for 3 months during this section of time, okay? So during this section of time, when we went filming and everything for the situation, I'm pretty damn sure I was already moved out, which was at the end of December. The winter situation of this would have been, yeah, I'm pretty sure the last like little bit of filming I wasn't living with my parents anymore, because I had moved out just after Christmas with my parents' permission, by the way, and I was living with my boyfriend for 3 months, or just over 3 months, I think. Might have been 4. Somewhere around that time period, okay? And I'd already moved out. I had no problem with this house that I was living at. I felt very safe in this house. There was nothing like creepy about this house that I was living in. It was totally fine. And after we visited that room, suddenly my house felt very, very unsafe. And I remember swearing I saw like black figures. I remember at one point almost experiencing a panic attack while I was trying to go to sleep, and almost sleep paralysis type experience where I wasn't even quite asleep yet, kind of situation. And the reason I describe it as sleep paralysis is because I have actually experienced many sleep paralysis situations where my brain convinces myself that there's something there and I'm scared, but I can't move. I can't get up. I can't move. I'm awake. I swear I'm awake, but I can't move. And in this situation, I was actually trying to go to sleep. It was night. It was late. I was trying to go to sleep, but I couldn't move, and I couldn't go to sleep because the only things that I could really move were my eyeballs. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw this black figure looming over me, creeping me the fuck out. Like I was like crying, having a panic attack, and I couldn't fucking move. And there was this black figure, and I experienced this for 3 days straight of my room feeling unsafe, me feeling unsafe, swearing I'm seeing things, all this stuff for 3 days straight after visiting this room, and then it went away. I don't know if it had to do with the room, but it was really weird, and I haven't experienced anything like that since or before that situation. That's the only other times. I've had only 2 other times where I've experienced like sleep paralysis type situations, and in those situations I know for sure that it was my brain with me. In this situation, I have no goddamn idea if it was my brain or not. Like, it just felt really weird. Is the only way I can explain that. The other one I will tell you that happened at this high school didn't actually happen to me, but if this friend is telling the truth, this was an experience that they had. So, another place that we filmed in was the old high school gym. And in this old high school gym, there was old locker rooms that no one really used anymore. They were kind of just used for storage now. And normally the doors like aren't open, you know, like they're locked and everything for people who actually work there. But we were filming in this thing, and one of the locker room doors was actually open for once. And for whatever reason, we decided it was a great idea to go check it out. So we went and checked it out, and then me and the director went off to do something, and the actress friend stayed in there. Later at one point to record like a EVP kind of situation, like a voice recording, while we were doing stuff. And she came back and she said that she was asking questions, and she asked what, like, if the person in there could tell her name. Could person in there with her could tell them her name. And she said she swore in real life she heard the word girl. Like, she actually heard someone whisper in her ear, girl. And then, there was, in the room, and I saw these before I left, that there was these, like, deflated, like, storage balloons in the corner. There was no life in them. They were dead. There was no anything. And she said after she heard the word girl whispered in her ear, the balloons lifted up onto the ground and went back down. And then she just decided to go bye and left. And I was like, there was no wind in the room, no air conditioning, no nothing to make the balloons move. And she said, no. So that might have happened. If so, kind of creepy. I'm still kind of mad at her for not actually ending the session properly and just basically leaving with no explanation, because you're not supposed to do that in any situation if you're deciding it's a great idea to try to talk to a ghost that may or may not be in the room with you. So, or talk to a spirit. I mean, if I'm being more respectful, I'm sorry. Also, fun fact, forgot to mention this. When I was talking about how I had experienced saying the name Evan and getting a reaction out of the lights in the bathroom, I talked to my mom, because my mom used to go to high school there, and so did my stepdad and my grandparents and blah blah blah. And I just casually mentioned to my mom that the situation happened, and asked her if she knew anything. And at first she said no, and then later when I talked to her about it, she was like, actually, oh yeah, that's funny. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, I forgot, there did actually used to be a kid that went to our high school named Evan, and he was actually really nice. However, he died. She said she thinks she remembered him dying from drowning, and that they never found the body, and that it's interesting that I mentioned this situation happening at that old high school because my mom and my dad had been talking about it a couple days before that. Forgot to mention that. I don't know how I could leave out that minor detail, but so yeah, but those are my little stories, and we're going to read some other people's stories. So, Lego. And if you hear a bell, that's my cat in the background. Okay. When I first bought my house a few years ago, the house next door had been vacant for several months. But after the first few weeks of moving in, I saw a young woman inside the house. I never saw a vehicle or anything in the driveway, and I would only see her during the day. I kind of just assumed it was a woman sent to look after the property. A few months go by, and the house is put up for sale at an alarmingly low price, considering what I paid for mine. I later learned from the realtor that the previous owner had murdered his wife and then killed himself. Jesus Christ. He told me the couple's names, so I googled them out of curiosity. I was beyond shocked to see a picture of the wife, because it was the same woman I had seen through the windows. The house has since sold, and I haven't seen her since, but I am truly a believer in spirits now. Wow. A little unnerving, just a little bit. I don't remember this myself, but my parents say that when I was young, I would run into the room crying because a man was in my closet. I described him as a Civil War soldier, which I couldn't have known how to describe on my own, given my age. After a little research, my parents found out that the last people who had lived in that house had found rare Civil War artifacts. That's interesting. When I was a kid, we lived in a city 3 hours away from my grandparents. They rarely visited since my grandpa was suffering from an illness, and if they did visit, I typically knew in advance. One day, I was looking out of the window, and I saw my grandpa waving at me from the driveway. I told my mom, super excited, that they planned a surprise visit. My mom didn't say anything. Years went by, and I forgot about this, but she told me that story recently. And apparently, my grandpa had just died that morning. Oh, that makes me want to cry. That's not creepy, that's so sad. Oh, that it literally immediately brought tears to my eyes. I'm actually so sad. Oh, they were a little kid. And they were so excited because they thought their grandpa came to visit, and their grandpa had just died and was basically saying, bye. I'll see you in the next life, or when it becomes your time. I was just telling him bye. That's really sad. I mean, it's almost sweet that like he was able to do that like as a spirit, but it's also really sad because the kid didn't know exactly that that happened. I'm guessing that like the kid had actually been told that their grandpa had died later. You know, like the mom maybe didn't have the heart to tell her child right away. Maybe she had figured it out and didn't say anything because she didn't have the heart, and maybe it was because she wanted to grieve a little by herself, like be able to like hold it in so she could be there for her kid when she told him. So I'm guessing he didn't actually know like exactly when his grandpa died, and so after he figured that out, it made his story really, really sad. Okay, let's move on. I live in an area of Tennessee that many people say is haunted. When I was in high school, a group of friends and I decided to go out at night to see if we could find anything. We walked around town and even went to the cemetery, but nothing happened. That is, until we were driving away, still on the cemetery grounds. The two other girls in the car and I heard a blood-curdling scream so loud that we had to physically cover our ears. We freaked out, but the craziest part of the story was that the three guys in the car didn't hear a thing. Safe to say, we got the heck out of there and didn't question the ghost rumors ever again. Yeah, I mean, it's weird that like they heard it and the other people didn't. Interesting. I lived in a haunted house, so I was convinced that ghosts existed pretty early on because of that. The creepiest thing that would repeatedly occur was that we'd all hear our names being called loudly from right behind us. Nobody told anyone else that this had happened to them until it happened to me, and my mom saw I was scared. With no context, she asked if I had heard my name being called and confirmed she'd experienced it too. Why would you not tell your kid about that? I mean, you can't see it, and I'm not gonna screen record it, but they put like a GIF of like ghosts in white sheets, and it's from like the movie Beetlejuice, and I'm very happy about it. Okay. I'm actually starting to get like really uneasy now. Like, I'm not kidding. Okay, let's continue. My Nana had passed away in June of 2018, and my daughter was born in March of 2018. When I was pregnant, I was excited for my Nana to meet my daughter. I talked about her all the time, but unfortunately, since we were living in different states and our house was rapidly declining, my Nana didn't get to meet my daughter. Right after I got the call that my Nana passed away, my infant daughter woke up suddenly from her nap, smiling and making noises like she was trying to speak. It was very odd. But I like to believe that my Nana paid a visit to my daughter for the first and last time. I mean, I can't confirm that that's like an official ghost story, but that is really sweet though. I mean, sad but sweet. My cousin and my aunt had recently moved into a new apartment, and while I was hanging out there once, my cousin told me that they had a ghost. I didn't believe them at all, and a couple of weeks later, we had a sleepover. We were having some drinks and eating some pizza in my cousin's room when out of the corner of my eye, I saw a man go from the hallway to the restroom. He looked see-through, but you could clearly make out that it was a man with blue jeans and a white shirt on. It creeped me out so bad that I didn't know what to do, so I turned to my cousin and explained what I'd seen. He calmly confirmed that it was the exact same person he'd been seeing, and I've been a believer since then. Beta. Beta. Ow. Beta. Beta. Come here, Beta. believer per se, but I myself hadn't had an experience until after my mom died. She died very suddenly. It was very unexpected, and because of that, it meant that I had to quit school to help run the family business. I moved out of my apartment and back in with my dad. One afternoon I was taking a nap, and I dreamed of her. I knew it wasn't truly a dream because in the dream I knew that she was dead. I didn't understand why she was there. It was very real. She sat on the couch across from me, and we had a very long conversation. She looked ethereal. I don't remember much of the conversation except the very end when she said, "I'm so glad he has you." I assumed she was talking about my being home with my dad during that difficult time. Aww. Some more Beetlejuice gifts. I love that. Peter, Peter. Where are you going? Peter, where are you going? Where are you going? Am I boring you? So it's actually the reason my parents are believers now. And I still get chills whenever my mom or dad tells the story. A lot of odd things happened building up to this, but this is the big one. I was only 1 year old. Ouch! Come here, you goose. I was only 1 year old and I was sleeping in between them. But when they woke up, I wasn't in the bed anymore. They searched everywhere for me and said that when they finally looked under the bed, they found me underneath it, directly in the middle where I'd be sleeping up top. They have no idea how I got there, and it completely spooked them. Weird. Do you think that's weird? One night, my grandmother was looking after me, and it was just the two of us in the house. I was sitting on the floor in front of her while we were watching TV. Suddenly, we heard loud footsteps upstairs. Then one of the doors slammed shut. I grabbed onto her leg because I was horrified that someone was in the house. But my grandma just looked up at the ceiling and yelled, "Don't slam any doors in my house." I never got to talk to her about it since she passed when I was still young, so I'll never know who she was talking to. I like how that's the response. Like, if she was talking to a ghost, like if she knew there was a ghost in her house, I love like her response was, "Don't you slam the doors in my house, darn kids." Like, she just got mad. She was like, "You slammed the door, how dare you." I love that. I love that that's the response. When my daughter was very little, she heard someone speaking another language. Without pause, she told me that the language was what her mother before me spoke. But she wasn't supposed to be with that mother, so that's why she came to be with me. It definitely freaked me out. We would go to visit my mother's father every once in a while when I was younger. And whenever we would go to leave, he would walk us to the front door. We would then walk across the road, stand by our car, and wave goodbye. He would always be standing there waiting for us, waving back. When my grandfather passed away, my mother went to his house to clean up, since he lived alone. And as she left, she closed the door behind her, locked it across the street, and got into her car. She said that just out of habit, she looked up at the front door, for she swears to this day that she saw my grandfather waving to his daughter for the last time. Again, one of those things where it's like a ghost story, but it's kind of sad. Because it's just their loved one saying goodbye. Well, that's a sad one to end it on, but we're going to end the video right here. I hope you enjoyed this spooky video, and if you did, give it a like. If you want to listen to some more ghost stories and things like that, click the link in the description for my previous ghost story video if you're in the mood for some Halloween pre-spookage. Some pre-Halloween spookage. There we go, that's what I was going for. And I will see you for not only the next video, but hopefully the next Halloween themed video. Get ready! I love you all so very, very much, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!